What's good, Tristan Talks family? These videos will come out simultaneously, so I might drop two in the same day. I'm editing the other one, which will drop today. I'm editing that right now. It's like no crazy edits, I'm just making some cuts. But today we're going to be talking about the banality of evil. And I'm reading this book by Hannah Arendt, and I'm almost done with it. It's for my research on totalitarianism. But I also have different books on totalitarianism here. But I'm going to connect it to the banality of evil. And so the banality of evil, in a little short synopsis, basically says that are humans inherently evil or were they just following orders? Well, that's what I got from but I'm going to get into what that actually means, okay? And so this is where how ordinary people become the agents of atrocity. So we're gonna the banality of evil. The context is of Eichmann in Jerusalem after Adolf Eichmann after the Holocaust, and he basically aided the killing and the systematic removal of Jewish people. But this moment is like it should be disturbing, but it's also something that more than anything almost anything else you'll study in political history, political theory, if you study political theory, not because of what happened, but because of how who made it, of how of who made it happen, right? All right, let's just get into it. In 1961, Adolf Eichmann sat in a courtroom in Jerusalem. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't defiant, he didn't look like a monster. He looked like a normal middle-aged bureaucrat in a suit, calmly discussing procedures and responsibilities of his time in Nazi Germany, a part of the SS. This was a man who was responsible for the transportation of millions of Jews to extermination camps during the Holocaust. And yet, what the world saw was not a dramatic villain, but something more unsettling. Because during the time, the Allied powers after the Holocaust created the UN, right? And so basically, their job was to create something good and evil, was to designate the two. In this case, Nazi Germany would be the evil and the Allied powers would be the good. But during the Genocide Convention in 1948, they had a lot to say. The Allied powers had a lot to say about what is genocide and what isn't genocide. So genocide is the ethnic cleansing in the. Let me actually look up the real definition. Genocide. I'm doing Raphael Lemkin. Genocide definition, Raphael Lemkin. It says that is the destroying the essential foundations of life, of national, racial, and religious groups, and tending to annihilate groups themselves. Genos means race and tribe, and side means obviously killing. This signifies a synchronized attack on a group's culture, economy, and dignity, not physical destruction. So the Allied powers who were creating during the Nuremberg trials were creating systems of what genocide meant, so they could get away with it. It's not funny, but so they could get away with it. Basically, what they said here is it's race, religious, national, right? These three. It doesn't say political groups. And so most genocide does the most occurring genocide in Palestine. Israel cannot count it as a genocide because Hamas is a quote unquote political group. But we all know it's a genocide because you're not only attacking Hamas, you're attacking the Palestinian civilians. Now let's get back to the banality of evil. Just remember that. But Hannah Arendt attended this trial and expecting to see evil in its most obvious form. Instead, she developed one of the most important ideas in modern political thought. The banality of evil, what she meant was not that evil is small, but that it can be ordinary. It can look like routine, it can look like someone doing their job. And so what Arendt saw in Eichmann was not a deeply ideological mastermind. He was a functionary, someone who had followed orders, relied on bureaucratic language, and replaced moral thinking with administrative efficiency, right? He spoke in cliches and distanced himself from the consequences of his actions. This is what was terrifying because it meant that the Holocaust was not carried out by fanatics. It required thousands and millions of ordinary people participating in small ways. They're normalizing these roles and convincing themselves they were not responsible. This is the essence of what the banality of evil actually means. It's not hatred alone, it's thoughtlessness. It's a failure to think critically about what one is doing. Once we understand that, genocide looks totally different because it's just not evil people doing evil things. That's just simplifying it. Excuse me, I have something. It's just simplifying it. It's just like people, me and you, could commit genocide on anyone because we were just following the rules. We were just a functionary, even though we wouldn't. I hope we wouldn't, and I hope we think what we were doing and know this is wrong. But in this idea, you had to, Eichmann and others had to fit into the Nazi regime and Nazi society and say it was Nazi laws to exterminate Jewish people, to deport them, to remove them, right? But genocide is not just about one evil leader. It is a system. It requires organization, infrastructure, and participation. It depends on people doing ordinary jobs like filing paperwork, driving trains, enforcing laws. And each person can claim they are just doing their job. This diffusion of responsibility what makes genocide possible. Violence becomes administrative. Death becomes logistical. Like morality is replaced by procedure. We see this pattern across history, especially in Nazi Germany, but also in Rwanda and Bosnia. These events are not random, they are structured and enabled by the system. And if you've watched my videos, you know it always comes back to the system because the system is what's making this work, right? And it is also coming back from people who stop questioning these said systems. And this has major implications for human rights. Protecting human rights is not just about laws and institutions. Those matter, of course, but they are not enough. Systems can fail, laws can be manipulated, institutions can become tools of harm. Ultimately, human rights depends on individuals, people willing to think, question, and resist. Eichmann's greatest failure was not just what he did, but his refusal to think about it. He replaced judgment with obedience. And this is a pattern that we still see today. We live in a world of systems, governments, corporations, bureaucracies. These systems often reward compliance and discourage questioning. But the lesson of the banality of evil is that normality is not the same with morality. Just because something is routine does not make it right. Evil does not always appear dramatic. Sometimes it can look like policy, like paperwork, like following orders. This is why critical thinking is essential. Because when these people stop thinking, systems can become dangerous. And this is when harm on a massive scale becomes possible. So the real question is not just how we stop obvious evil, it's how we prevent ordinary people from participating in it. How do we build a society where people question authority, when moral responsibility actually matters, where being a part of the system does not excuse you harm? Because the line between good and evil was not drawn between different groups of people, it runs through all of us. And every day we make choices about whether to think or whether to question or whether to act. That's the banality of evil. It's nothing too crazy. It's just that we can become evil once we stop thinking. Because we could be evil today if we said the Iran war the Iran war was justifiable and we support the Iran war. You are just following procedures. You are just following policy. You are just following US military interventions. Does that make you evil? No. Because you're just following procedures and you're not actually thinking about the implications of what's happening to other people. He just said he will destroy the whole civilization. Now, Trump is interesting to the banality of evil. But that's a whole nother conversation. I appreciate y'all listening. Peace.